Okay guys, today we're going to talk about the Remette Wild Species, $189. Okay, so this is the box it came in. It says Remette Wild Species. Yeah, um, haven't opened this since we got it. Right, this little case, I guess, and in the case, the bag it was in, and a cleaning cloth, and a little tool. Yeah. Okay. Um, yeah, I'm not too particular to packaging. It's whatever. It's a nice touch when people throw in some nice extra additions. Yeah, it's good. Here, let me clear off this side area a bit so I can work better. Hopefully this is out of frame. That there. Okay, so this is the knife. How did this one come to be? What do I think of it? Okay, so this is a knife that was made by the company Remette. Okay, it is titanium. It is a frame lock, and the blade is made of M390. Okay, this knife has the distinction and strange honor of being the only knife I have that is easier to open with one hand than two hands. Okay, like this knife is kind of hard to get open with two hands. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's open it up. Let you guys see what it looks like. Okay. What else about this knife before I start putting numbers? It seemed like when I was looking at it, yeah, the fact that it's titanium, it has this cool blue lightning something that they did to it. M390. It seemed, and it was handsome looking. Yeah, in the pictures online, it looks nice. Okay, seemed too good to be true. It seemed like for the price, and I mean, I know this is not no money. This is not cheap. Okay, but for the price, it seemed like, can it really be as good as it looks when you look at the pictures on the internet? Okay, yeah, the answer is yes. Okay, it's not too good to be true. Yeah, it's impressive in many ways. You guys will find out. Okay, let's start with sound. Okay, so the sound that this knife makes is probably the best tell for this knife in general. Okay, when I open this knife up and it does that, you can hear everything, you know. Okay, so when I do sound considerations, I'm listening for how satisfying is it, how crisp it is, okay, the volume, and there is such a thing as being too loud. Okay, but in this case, there's this thing that I call stop sense. Yeah, the sense you get when it stops and falls into place. Okay, and from the stop sense, you can kind of tell, or you can very much tell, things like precision, quality, tolerances, and materials. Okay, like if everything just exists in harmony, okay, and just wants to exist together. Okay, the stop sense on this knife is great. Okay, it is either the second best or tied for first with all the knives I've experienced, and that is what stands out the most with this knife. Okay, this knife is all about the factory. Okay, because I know that when things are manufactured, that tolerances are set. Yeah, micro precisions. Okay, how much how tight are the specs? How much in or out of measurement are pieces that are being machined and produced allowed to be? Okay. And this is just mental. It is absolutely like robotically perfect. Like I don't even know how. Okay. The factory and the machines that this thing must be being machined on and coming out of, it's like they're operating with zero tolerances. Okay, it is so precise, so perfect. This is a knife from 2025/2026. Okay, this is not a knife from any previous time. I actually don't know when this knife was even released or made. Okay, but yeah, so the sound, I kind of probably should cut to the chase, yeah, and give you guys an actual score. Okay, 9. Okay, dang it, I forgot to do this again, guys. Okay, 10 is perfect, 9 is almost perfect, 8 is good. Whoa, guys, what am I doing? 8 is almost perfect, 6 is good, 4 is kind of junk, and 2 is junk. Okay, so the sound on this knife, yeah, like I said, it says everything about the manufacturing. Okay, I cannot harp enough, I cannot talk enough about the manufacturing. Like in my brain, in my mind's eye, I imagine the factory that this thing is coming out of and the machines that are producing this thing, and my brain just struggles to wrap itself around it. Okay, so why is it not perfect? Okay, because even at slow motion, whew, okay, I just from that I can tell you why. Okay, and then when I go fast, okay, can also tell you why. Okay, okay, so the reason I'm giving this a 9, somewhere between almost perfect and perfect, better than almost perfect, but just not quite perfect. Why am I not giving this a 10? Okay, one reason is it kind of lacks personality because it's so sterile. Okay, it's like clinical, like surgical. Okay, and maybe I shouldn't penalize it for that. Okay, but I do. And then the other one is, this is not a knife that I can deploy quickly, even though I know for some of you that looked quick. Okay, this is because I cannot actually use the thumb stud, and because I cannot get a fast whip, I cannot fully enjoy the sound that this thing potentially could make. Okay, so that's why it's a 9. Okay, deployment. So we have 2 things, yeah. One, we have the thumb things, which in my case, they're just here for decoration. Okay, these things are non-functional to me. Okay, and they're not ugly, and they actually match the aesthetic of the rest of the knife, but they don't work for me. Okay, I can't use them, and I don't think they're the most beautiful thing in the world either. Okay, this thing, the front flipper, is very, very, very functional to me. Okay, I can start it, switch to my pointer, deliberately open it. I can, as long as I place my hands correctly and choke up a little bit, I can just guide it slowly with my thumb the entire way. And I can somewhat quickly get it to snap open if I break it and then whip it. Okay, but I cannot do the break and whip in one piece. I can't. I have to start it and then go. Okay, and it's a delight. And I actually struggle with this particular knife to two-hand it. Okay, it's got a strong break to get started. Okay, so yeah, the deployment is good. Okay, better than good, but it's not perfect, and it's not almost perfect, which means therefore that it is a 7. Okay, the reason it's a 7 is I have a method that I can't even use, thumb studs, and you say what you want. You can be like, oh, he's not experienced enough. Oh, he's not strong enough. In my opinion, I'm not dumb enough to try this, okay? Because, you know, I really do believe if I tried really, really hard, I could get this thing going. But I also really, really believe that I might slice my finger badly. And that being the case, that ain't worth it to me, yeah? I actually have a friend, okay? I said this in another video. He came over to my house. He brought his knives. We were talking story. He checked out my knives, and that guy, he could pop this open, okay, with the thumb stud, okay. And I told him, brah, I think you're kind of crazy to do that, yeah. But in his case, he didn't cut himself, no problem, okay. But I'm not about that life. I am not even gonna try that, okay. So it gets docked for that, and then it gets docked for the fact that I cannot really do it in one motion, okay. It has to be started and then go, okay. So 7. The lock release, it's pretty dang good, pretty divine, okay. This guy here, the frame lock. And so yeah, before I forget to talk about this knife, yeah. So this knife is a titanium frame lock, okay. It was purchased to scratch the itch of titanium frame lock, okay. And in our community, the one that's very, very, very famous is the Chris Reeves Sebenza, yeah. I went to a store. I handled the smaller one and the bigger one, and yeah, you know, for me, first of all, the price, okay, the price is possibly a detractor, okay. But you know, so many people talk about it, so many people hype it, so many people love it, and quite a few people have it. It's kind of a status symbol, yeah, in this community. Not an itch I wanted to scratch. That is getting that specific knife, okay. Getting a titanium frame lock, yes, is something I wanted to scratch. So what did I do? Yeah, I scoured the internet. Yeah, I watched videos, I went on Google, and then ultimately ended up in Amazon, yeah. So I'm in Amazon, I'm looking through things, looking for a certain look, and looked at a bunch of brands, tried to figure out the reputation of different brands, and this is what I ended up with, okay. Back to the lock release, okay. So the lock release, very, 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 very well executed. Like the factory, the machining, the tolerances, it's psycho. It's like, I cannot find an imperfection. I really can't. Like, what robot put this thing together, yeah? Seriously, okay. So the lock release is an 8, okay. I love that I can, boom, okay. So guys, this thing is not too tight, okay, and it's also not too loose, okay. To get it moving aside and started, it's kind of perfect, okay. So then, I said kind of perfect, almost perfect. So then why not perfect, okay? Why not perfect? Because I like liner locks more. I really think that's the reason, okay. You know, I get it. I get that frame locks are more fancy, you know. They're probably viewed in a more elite way, okay. But I can feel it, you know. When I'm here, I can feel that thing there. I can feel that thing there, and I think I prefer to not feel that thing there, okay. I think I care more about function than form, and I don't think I care too much about status. So yeah, anyway, okay, so that is the lock release. The closure, okay, this guy does, I'm just gonna write it down already, okay. It's a 5-on closure, okay. It's kind of one of this knives weak areas, okay. So closure is when I hand guide the final glide to its closed position. What does that feel like, okay? The answer is it's too frictionless, it's too light. There's just not enough resistance. Okay, and that is going to be because this blade is heavy. Okay, it's kind of a chunker. If you look at it, yeah, if you look at handle blade, it is slightly disproportionate. Yeah, almost like a whack, 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 like a chopper or like a machete. Okay, that's just being honest. Okay, the proportions of this are like the opposite of a para 3. Yeah, para 3 has like a perfect handle with a head that's like proportionate to it. Okay, this one is like opposite. Okay, so instead of big handle, small head, this one has like big head, small handle. Okay, so the closure suffers because it's head heavy. Okay, okay, the 3-step system. Okay, a deliberate open, a deliberate break, a deliberate close. Okay, all in all, it's a 7. Okay, it's better than good. It's not quite almost perfect. It's very satisfying for me to do my 1, my 2, because frame locks are really good at 2, and then 3 is where it hurts a little bit. Okay, so 1, that's almost as good as it gets. 2 is almost as good as it gets, but 3 is being penalized for 3. Okay, feel. Okay, feel is here. Yeah, when I'm using it, when I'm holding it, when I'm just doing whatever, when the handle is in my hand with the blade open, okay, what does it feel like? Okay, and it's actually improved with time as I've actually used it, guys. Okay, it's good. Okay, it is not perfect, it's not junk, it's just good. Okay, it actually fits in the hand very, very well. Okay, so why is it a 6? Why is it not higher? I used to think it was slippery. Okay, I used to be kind of scared to play with it because I'm like, man, it's like not grippy enough. Okay, but I'm over that. I've had it long enough where I no longer think that's a major consideration. Okay, it's a minor consideration. So I'm not too worried about the slipperiness, even though this is definitely not the most not slippery knife. But again, this blade is it's a little heavy. Okay, so yeah, feel is 6. Okay, looks, of course, subjective. Yeah, you guys can decide for yourself. Okay, but partly why I bought it, aside from being a titanium frame lock, is it was the best looking titanium frame lock. Yeah, so I wanted something that was titanium frame lock, like a Sebenza, but not a Sebenza. Okay, and of all the ones I looked at, I liked looking at this one. Okay, I really did. Okay, and so the looks of this guy is an 8. Okay, not perfect, almost perfect. Again, keep bringing it up. Okay, I actually think that this knife could be perfect looking if we did 2 things. 1, okay, I'm not a huge fan of this thumb stud. Okay, now this is being nitpicky, but like, it's boring, it's bland, and I get that it matches the overall look that they're going for, but yeah, I can't actually explain exactly why I don't like it, but I can say that I don't like it. Okay, and then second is the proportions are off. Okay, because this thing is big. Okay, it's big. Okay, so that's the looks. Pocket clip. Okay, you know, if you're just going for a pocket clip that matches the knife, and a pocket clip that's well executed, and a pocket clip that is titanium, then this is a great pocket clip. Okay, I'm going to give this pocket clip a 3 because I give all pocket clips bad scores, because functionally and practically, aside from being a decoration, it's not a very good pocket clip. Okay, it's very tight, it's very narrow, and it can definitely tear shorts. Okay, I don't think I have to go much further than that in terms of the pocket clip. Nice thing. Sometimes I don't care too much about pocket clips. When I do the weighting of a pocket clip, it's actually weighted as only half. Okay, so it's not a deal breaker, not the end of the world. Okay, so let's move to fizz. Okay, fizz, surprisingly, it's not an 8. Okay, because the para 3 is an 8 to me in terms of fizz. Actually, let me make sure I put. I misspoke. The para 3 is a 7. This is also a 7. Okay, so this is just as fizzy as a para 3. Okay, it's a 7. Okay, so what is a 7? It's better than good. It has better than good levels of fizz. Okay, but it's not quite almost perfect. Okay, not quite almost perfect in terms of level of fizz. Okay, why? There's a lot of stuff that bring me fizz on this thing. Yeah, or that give me the fizz. Okay, I actually like this pattern that they put in the titanium. I like that it seems like that it's well ingrained and well there, and it's probably not going to come off. I like how surgically perfect this is. It just feels that way, and you can hear it. Okay, it's really the silhouette created by this kind of extra large blade. Okay, it's disproportionate enough to remove some levels of fizz. Okay, and then joy. How much joy does this give me? You know, it fulfills the measure of its creation very well. Okay, if the design of this thing was to make a very, very handsome, very, very precise, very, very snug, very, very smooth titanium frame lock, okay, that was robust titanium and a frame lock with a good steel, you know, and that had looks, okay, it did its job. Okay, it did its job. So it's an 8. It brings me a lot of joy. I do like reaching for it. I do like carrying it. I do like grabbing it. I do like that it's one of my heavier, bigger knives. It has more presence than I guess any of those other knives. Okay, it's a show stealer. Okay, guys, it's great. Yeah. Okay, so that's that. Brings me joy. Okay, so let's go wrap things up with the overall perception, the overall score, and maybe some final thoughts. Yeah, so a summary. Okay, what have we got in terms of the overall perception? Okay, so without doing any math, without even considering or looking at these numbers, okay, the overall perception is an 8. Okay, it's almost perfect. It belongs in my collection. It is solidly, squarely in there. It fulfills the role of the titanium frame lock. Okay, it's almost perfect. Mathematically, what number do we end up with from here? Hey, you know, for the first time, we're pretty close. Okay, 7.2. Okay, to me, that is not a great departure from this. Okay, so if you're a numbers person and a rating system person and you like my numbers and you want to know what they add up to, okay, 7.2. Okay, between good and almost perfect. Okay, if you want to just throw all the numbers out the window, yeah, and know what I will give it if I factor in other things, like a story or a price or intangibles, yeah, that are not categories on my list. Okay, well then that means that this is an 8. Okay, finally, let's talk about joy. Yeah, things that bring joy, things that take away joy. Okay, it brings me joy that this is in the same family as a Sebenza, but accomplished in a different way. Okay, I feel like that gives me it makes it so I'm not following the crowd as much. Okay, not that it gives me more of a voice, kind of that it gives me maybe perhaps a little more freedom. Yeah, that I didn't have to do what everyone else did. Okay, so it brings me joy that I was able to get a frame lock, that I was able to get a titanium frame lock. Okay, and that is different. Okay, there's a lot of titanium frame locks out there. This one has its own identity. This one has its own signature. I am very impressed by it, by the brand or the company Remette. Okay. If any of you ever want to buy one of their things, I know a lot of people are very familiar with them. I would highly recommend them because they've got some crazy machines. Yeah. Okay. Joy detractors, things that remove joy. That thumb stud. Okay, I can't use it. I don't care that I can't use it though. Yeah, because I'm fine with the front flipper. Okay, but I do like function over form usually. So for there to exist something that is just there for no good reason, that does remove some joy. Okay, and then I've mentioned it probably like 5 times. Okay, the disproportionately large blade. Okay, they really could have created this exact same knife and just made this thing maybe less fat, maybe less heavy, and it would be more good looking. Okay, so that removes a little bit of joy. But yeah, so this is the Remette Wild Species, a knife that I am fond of, that gives me a good level of fizz, that gives me a good level of joy, and that overall definitely belongs and fills a good place in my collection.